Heavenly Father, we thank you for gathering us today in this important endeavor for the county. We ask you to bestow your guidance and blessings on each attendant. May we honor one another by keeping an open mind. May we voice our truth and listen with an open heart. Bless everyone present today and be able to share his or her contributions. Amen.
Amen.
Commissioner Lee.
I
pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
All right, can we get roll call, please?
Yes. Commissioner Leyland.
Present.
Commissioner Lawrence.
Present.
Commissioner Locke. Here. Chair Jones.
Yep.
Commissioner Barrera.
Present.
Commissioner Howie. Present. Commissioner Marquetti. Here. And Commissioner Lee.
Here.
Thank you. All right, next up we got public comment. Let's just remind everybody that we're going to do public comment at the beginning and at the end of the meeting. At the beginning of the meeting, it's only limited to agenda items only. That being said, the floor is now open to the public for comments. Each speaker has a maximum of 3 minutes to speak. When you approach the podium, please state your name for the record. Please do not address individual commissioners directly, and note there will not be any back and forth discussion between the board and the public. Once your time is up, kindly conclude your comments and take a seat. If anyone would like to speak, please come up.
Yep.
Richard Danke, Sheriff, Silver Creek Township. Just wanted to give you an update from the tornado last week, some information that I think you might find interesting. From 1630, which is 4:30, till 1900, which is 7, Cass County Central Dispatch was very, very busy. They had 3 dispatchers working. One came in when they heard of the storm, so they only had 2. But anyway, they had 3 come in. But during the event, they had to dispatch 9 fire departments on 16 different calls, 5 EMS units on various different calls of medical and fire department assists. During this time, there was also an event at the Ramona Roller Rink in Sister Lakes, and that's what increased the amount of fire departments needed. 3 of those fire departments were used in the Twin Lakes tornado area. 27 police incidents logged and 56 total CAD incidents. Now, this is a reminder, that was only for 2.5 hours. They answered 383 calls, 116 911 calls, and 267 admin calls, plus they had to make 68 calls out from dispatch, split with 3 people in 2.5 hours. I was in dispatch during this time, helping as much as I could. It was amazing to see, and I got to give him a lot of credit. From Manny De La Rosa, who couldn't be here today, I was going to have him kind of report on what he had going on, and but his son's graduating high school, so I figured, okay, we'll give him that. So the Red Cross has been out and is still assisting with food and supplies for county and state workers, as well as Twin Lakes residences. Initial damage assessments were done by County Emergency Management and completed Friday and Saturday. And FEMA damage assessments were completed yesterday, Wednesday the 15th. They worked with the County Emergency Manager, Michigan State Police Rep, a Small Business Administration evaluators were here with them, the building inspector, as well as the township supervisors from Silver Creek and Wayne. Debris management continues. World Renew has been an interesting organization. They showed up 2 days this week and are still there today helping residents with free tree removal, which is a welcome sign for many of the residents. And a free service, and they'll continue to come out if needed. They're out of Grand Rapids, by the way. Continuing to work with the residents that are calling and emailing emergency management with a variety of questions. Several tree companies still working, and Midwest Energy is still working in the area. The provided county dumpsters are barely being used. They're wondering if we need to put out another press release advising where they're at and what they're for. There was 115 total units assessed. 28 were affected, and what that means, minor damage like the shingle removal. Is that my 3 minutes already, Jeremiah?
Yeah.
Can I continue?
Yeah, please.
Yes, please. My bad.
minor damage houses and buildings. 29 major and 6 were destroyed. There were 3 that they did not have contact with at this time, that they haven't come up to be evaluated. The Road Commission had 535 and a half hours of total work in the Twin Lakes area. The Sheriff's Office had 78 hours of work in the Twin Lakes area during Tuesday through Saturday. So I just wanted to share that information with you as a little update of what's been happening throughout the county. And we appreciate the help the commissioners had and the response that we had, and we still going to be working on it for a while though. So on another note, if you haven't heard, our bloodhound Nellie passed away this morning after 12 years. She worked at the Sheriff's Office for 10 years and did a great job. It was a sad day for us at the Sheriff's Office, and if you go to our Facebook page, you can hear we actually did a call for service, out of service for her, and Deputy Graves is missing her already. So I think that's it. Sorry for running over there, sir.
Thank you.
Thanks for the update.
Thank you.
Thanks for the info.
Just a quick case update. I think I may have talked to you last month about the bank robbery at Fifth Third in Cassopolis. Did I speak with you guys on that specifically? Mm-hmm. Okay. Obviously indicated we got a conviction. Just want to indicate that he was sentenced last week. The guidelines were astoundingly low. The guidelines, the maximum on the guidelines were 3 years. We asked for the judge to exceed the guidelines, and he did in this case. And this, again, is an individual, if you recall, who had done about 7 or 8 previous bank robberies back around 2011 and 12 and was convicted of 3 of them federally. He did receive a sentence of 4 years at the minimum here in Cass County last Friday. And so certainly, very frankly, and I think a lot of the public would have liked to have seen more, but again, we're pleased with the fact we got a conviction and he's out of our community for at least the next 4 years. So just to let you know. All right, thanks.
Thank you. Any other public comment? All right. Next, we'll move into the additions and deletions of the agenda.
Mr. Vice Chair,
Yes.
I'd like to remove item number 9 from underneath new business. Being that we're undertaking the RFP process for a class cap study to take place, I think we should let that play out before we move further on this item.
So that doesn't require a vote from the board, right?
No.
Any discussion on that? Any other additions or deletions to the agenda? All right, so we're going to move into the approval of the agenda.
Mr. Chair, I make a motion to approve the agenda as amended.
Support.
All right, the agenda has been moved and supported. Is there any discussion regarding that? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? The ayes have it and the agenda has been approved. All right, Commissioner Leland.
I move we approve the April 18th, 2024 Committee as a Whole minutes.
Second.
The minutes have been moved and supported. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? And the minutes are approved. Sheriff Banky, you have something on the agenda here to introduce new deputies?
You're with me this evening. Scared me. Here with me this evening are our 2 newest deputy sheriffs for the Road Patrol Division. Kelsey Showers from Osceola, Indiana, and Jason Higley from Lawton. Just completed the police academy last Thursday, and they completed it Wednesday, and they graduated on Thursday. So they completed their state tests on Wednesday, approved, and they got officially graduated on Thursday. So that was 16 weeks of very hard work, and if you notice, they're a little bit older than your normal recruit. And I just bring that up because most of them are 20 years old, and when we have somebody with a lot of life experience, we're looking forward to that. So I gave them each 20 minutes to talk if they'd like to say anything. But I just wanted you to meet them because you invested in them. You helped us send them to the police academy, and they stepped up and they're ready to take it on. So yesterday at 5 a.m., Jason started, and yesterday at 5 p.m., Kelsey started. So she's still got 12-hour shift to work, and he's just getting off his 12-hour shift to work. So but we.
So what is it? Go home and go to work.
All right, thank you much.
Yeah.
Thank you. Welcome.
Thanks, guys.
He's gonna introduce you.
You know, 41 years ago, I started as a prosecutor and got very engaged in our Prosecutors Association, it's called Prosecuting Attorneys Association of Michigan, and been quite involved. They're a great resource for us. And 30 years ago, I started hearing the name Ken Stecker. Ken Stecker was an assistant prosecutor in Kalamazoo at the time. He then moved on to the Branch County Prosecutor's Office, where he served as the chief assistant for a number of years. During that period of time in Kalamazoo and Branch County, he tried over 100 jury trials, which, if you're not familiar with prosecution, that's a huge number. There's very few prosecutors in the state of Michigan that even approach that number in their career, and he did that in a fairly short period of time in Kalamazoo and Branch counties. He then went to PAM, our Prosecutors Association, and for 15 years his stature continued to rise amongst prosecutors, not only in the state of Michigan and law enforcement, but also nationally. He became known as the traffic safety expert in the state of Michigan, as well as nationally. He is one of the most renowned traffic safety experts in the entire country. He's spoken in many states throughout the country because, again, of the high respect that law enforcement has for him. When I got here 21 years ago, I tried to get Ken to come work for me. We knew each other a little bit. He certainly at that point, that wasn't the stop he wanted in his career. But now he's at the other end of his career where he's getting closer to retirement. He left PAM recently, and in talking with him a few months ago, I started recruiting him because, as you know, it's extremely difficult to get anyone to apply for a prosecutor's office right now. We talked about that before. But Ken and I talked routinely on the phone for weeks, months at a time. Finally, I was able to convince Ken that a great place to spend the next 1 to 2 years of his career was a place called Cass County, working for Victor Fitz as a Cass County prosecutor. I know, so Monica's smiling. Monica's mother knows Ken well from working in our office. He is highly respected. The thing I'll leave you with here before I give Ken the floor, just to say hello to you, is that this morning at our law enforcement advisory meeting, I was walking in with the state police. And many of you know Jeremy Carlisle. Jeremy is a local born and bred kid who's now the post commander in Niles, Michigan. And he saw Ken. He said, "Ken, what the heck are you doing here?" And because everybody knows who Ken Stecker is in law enforcement. And Ken said, "Well, I'm now an assistant prosecutor here." And he said, "How in the world did we get you?" So, sometimes, it's just dumb luck. I don't know. But again, we're thrilled to have Ken. And I'm sure that Ken's thinking, oh, now I've got some high expectations here. But again, Ken, you wanted to say a word or two. Again, we're just thrilled to have him here in our office.
I just want to thank the commissioners and Victor Fitz and Mary Foster. I'm very humbled and privileged to be here, and I'm looking forward to working in Cass County, and I want to thank you so much. Thank you.
We're happy to have you. Thank you.
Yep, let me clarify, we should have actually put that on the agenda. Prosecutor Fitz did come up to us and ask us to just let him introduce this gentleman. So I apologize for not putting that on there, that was my fault. Moving right along, the finance report. As usual, the finance report is included in the packet. Does any member of the board have any questions for administration? I just want to point out one quick thing. In that report, they talked about the budgeting process is underway. There's several meetings that are lined up. Or is there something that we're going to have coming up, a workshop, or has there been any discussion around that?
We will. I mean, generally the way the process works is, we have a timeline that we follow. We usually follow that, every year.
It starts with having meetings with each of our offices and departments to go over, anticipated revenues, expenditures, looking at any capital projects that might be coming, any staffing changes that might be necessary, things like that. And then we work to compile a final budget. We're going to look to work a little bit quicker this year to give the Board of Commissioners much more opportunity to be able to look at that. Usually, last year was a little different. This year, my assumption would be once we present the draft budget, we typically would do a workshop after the fact with the commissioners to go over any changes you guys might want to have, any discussion items, things like that. So we'll kind of return to that protocol as our plan.
Great, thank you. Anyone else? All right, so we have no unfinished business. We're gonna head into new business. Let me remind everybody that we will discuss and vote on each agenda item individually. Each item will need a motion, a second, and a vote to move it along to the business meeting for an official vote. Are there any questions? Very good, so we're gonna dive right into our first item, materials management planning. Commissioner Marquetti or Administrator Newton, care to speak to it?
I'll start.
Go ahead.
So, yesterday we had a meeting with the person in charge of, we could call her our DPA, Southwest Michigan Planning Commission, Rebecca Schrag. And we reviewed the Southwest Michigan Planning Commission contract as well as the interlocal agreement. And I can tell you that stuff was pretty heavy reading.
It is.
At any rate, we are presenting them both to you tonight for approval to move on to the committee of the whole. We have a deadline that we have to meet with Eagle, and so if we can move that to our next regular meeting, we'll meet our deadline easily. And now I'm going to defer to Administrator Newton.
Yeah, so there's two items. The first is the actual contract with Southwest Michigan Planning Commission. That essentially provides for the work they're going to be doing as the designated planning agency. So coordinating, the committee that's going to be formed, the actual materials management plan itself, working with the board that is resultant from that. And then the interlocal agreement essentially is forming the agreement between the counties as to how we're going to go forward with this kind of regional approach. So kind of two different items, but they're all part of the same package. And we talked about this before, but the grant that we're getting from Eagle actually does offset the costs that we're going to be seeing from the Southwest Michigan Planning Commission into the future for the plan itself as well. So there won't be any net cost to the county. The cost for for Southwest Michigan Planning Commission will be offset from the grant. And both Van Buren and Berrien are bringing them to their respective committee of the wholes for their next meetings. I think our schedule aligned pretty in line with Berrien, and everybody's on board with it. So I anticipate it passing through all counties.
Very good.
I'll make a motion to push it on.
Support.
All right. We have motion and support. Is there any further discussion on this? Jim?
I would just, you said something about the contract and the agreement with the reading was kind of something else. What did you mean by that? Is it?
Well, there's a lot to it. I read the interlocal agreement 3 different times, and we made some changes yesterday
Okay.
because we felt that we wanted it to be equitable, and both Matt and I, we're all about Cass County,
So
and we're
you're,
moving, and we're partnering with 2 different counties, and we just want to make sure. We wanted to make sure yesterday, especially, that Cass County got equitable treatment, and
you're comfortable with this?
yes, and we made some changes.
Okay.
And we made some changes, we were the only ones that insisted on changes,
Yes.
and we got it through.
And you're okay with this as well, Matt?
Yeah, and actually, the one thing I'll note, I should have mentioned a little bit ago, is that what we had was the latest draft as of Friday. Roseanne is absolutely correct. We did change it yesterday, and Roseanne and I were very concerned about equal representation in the group. A good example of that is in the agreement that you see, item G under section 5 says an elected official of a county. And then later on, it says each county will be able to appoint, and it's 2 representatives. One is an elected official of the county or municipality in the planning area, and then a representative from a business that generates materials managed. My concern was that depending on which county got what, you might have two county reps from one county and then one representative from the county for the other two. That didn't seem fair. So we actually have revised that now, that it'll be just an elected official of a county for all three. There won't be that extra one. So, we took a lot of time and effort to try to make sure that it's as fair as it can be and that everybody's interests are being represented.
And there were also a few parts of the interlocal agreement that needed a little bit of cleaning up, and so we did that too.
Mostly little grammar things, but we're getting there.
I just have a quick question. Once this is in place, what measures are in place to monitor or evaluate the effectiveness of the materials management plan? Assuming it all gets passed.
Well, we have those people that are representing us as Cass County, and they'll come and report on it.
So we're gonna get reports here.
Oh,
Yeah,
absolutely.
because we'll have an
Oh,
elected
absolutely.
official and
Yeah.
Yeah, because
probably one
Eagle's
of us.
forcing our hand to
Yeah.
form this group, so.
Yes, and we, go ahead.
Well, and the whole purpose of this is really creating the committee that's going to be responsible for drafting what the materials management plan for the region actually is. So Southwest Michigan Planning Commission is assisting it. They're a designated agency, but they're working through the committee that this creates. And ultimately, whatever that final plan is will have to be adopted by all the municipalities as well. So once their work is done, that'll come right back to you guys for your final approval, as well as Van Buren County and Berrien County as well.
Great. All right, thank you. Anyone else? So we have a motion on the floor and support. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? The ayes have it, the motion has been approved. Next on the agenda, L-4029, Report C Resolution. Please, go ahead.
Each year, we have to bring this report, the L-4029 and the resolution before you. And this report tells us what millage rates we are allowed to charge for the county entities. County allocated, Council on Aging, Medical Care, E911, Transportation Authority, which is a new one that was just voted in February. This has to be done now and approved with a resolution because we charge the county allocated on the summer tax bills that go out July 1st. The remaining items are on the winter tax bill. So when the drug enforcement passes in August, I will be coming back to you at that point to add that millage to this report for the winter tax bills. We had a Headley rollback due to the fact that our taxable values increased because of that high CPI that we had. So the values that are listed on this 4029 are at that Headley rollback factor. If we do not hold a truth in taxation, we stand to lose over $1 million in revenue. So we want to have that truth in taxation, and that gives the public and you chance to ask questions regarding the millage rates. We'll hold that for just a few minutes before the next, or at the next meeting. We open it up for that public meeting.
So the public hearing is gonna be at the next meeting, is that what you're saying? Okay.
Yeah, you hold the public meeting, and then you vote to pass this report for them to sign, and along with the resolution.
But that does have strict requirements from the state as to the notice requirements. Tammy has been working with me on that, and we've got that out to the newspaper already. So we have a certain number of days, certain requirements. We'll have that all satisfied as well.
Very good.
And then the other thing, you guys, I'll just touch on real quick, is in the packet, I know Tammy passed out a revised version, but we are always waiting on the convention facility and liquor tax numbers from the state. They always seem to come in right about the middle of May when we're trying to do all of this. So the new packet in front of you has those numbers. In the packet itself, the resolution that we had, there was a couple highlighted sections with zeros. That was because we didn't know what those numbers were. So if you assuming everybody moves this forward, we'll update that resolution to have the correct numbers in there, so it's final at the next meeting.
And you have a copy of that revised resolution in that
Yes,
packet?
that's in the packet also.
That's
With
because
that
the
number.
state was late with it, nothing that we did.
No, the state releases it right around the 15th, and it just depends on when these meetings fall. if we have it ahead of time. And when I created the packet, I didn't have it. I literally got it emailed last night. So I recreated the packet for you this morning, because what that does is it lowers the amount that we can charge if we don't have a truth in taxation. It doesn't affect the value with the Headley, but if it does affect the value when we do a truth in taxation. So it lowered it considerably because it's an extra $215,000 in the calculation.
And timing is always critical because summer tax bills are going out, so that's where there's that kind of time pressure to get this stuff into the right meeting to make sure it gets approved so that we're getting everything approved prior to that, tax cycle.
The state can be late, but if we are, they're gonna come after us.
That's
Well,
very true.
it's gonna be hard to get those tax bills printed out by July 1st if we
Right.
don't do this by June
Right.
6th. We're
Exactly.
kind of pushing the limit to
Right.
it, so.
So when we put the meeting minutes on the website, is it gonna have the updated figures on there?
Yeah, I mean, at least at the minimum for the final version of the resolution, that would be on there as well. And then we would attach the updated packet. Generally, we would do that as part of the consent agenda items that are listed for the packet that will go out for June 6th. That coincides with the public hearing.
Very good.
I'll make a motion to move it forward.
I'll second.
All right, we have a motion and support. Is there any further questions or discussion? All right, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? The ayes have it, the motion has been approved.
Thank you.
Thank you. Number 3, we have Lossy Courts Building Camera Upgrade.
Yeah, Jody is unfortunately not able to be with us tonight, but I think I have it well in hand to be able to talk about it. This item, actually, we did have a capital projects committee meeting earlier this week to review it before it came here also, kind of just to make sure that the committee had a chance to review it. They did recommend it to go forward as well. The camera system at Long Courts is essentially the original system that was installed back in 2000, I don't know if it'd be 2002 when they were building it or 2003 at the latest, but it's starting to see its age. There are areas of the building where we want to enhance the ability to be able to see those, as well as the system it runs on is Windows XP, which is many generations ago. Finding machines that actually can run that software is not the easiest, and of course they're not being updated anymore, so there's security concerns that come along with that also. So one of the things we did here is this is actually in MMRMA actually approved a grant for the project, so they're covering half of the cost. We had a quote from actually about, I think it was almost a year ago now, of $60,825.17. The grant will cover half of that cost. So we're asking for essentially half of that cost plus a 10% contingency
It was
for a
from
net.
2022, and they're honoring the same.
Yeah, it was from 22 and they're honoring it now. So I mean, that was thankful that they did that.
We clarified that in the capital projects.
Yeah, but it's a much needed project. It'll really enhance our ability to make sure that we're monitoring things over there effectively, and we'll make sure that when we need to get video, if we need to, things like that, we'll be able to pull that the way we need.
All right, and the project must be completed by September 30th, right? In order
Yes,
to receive
yes.
that grant funding.
Yep.
Yep. So we're on a bit of a time crunch there too.
Yeah,
They've told us that if we get it going now, that they don't anticipate there being any issue with getting it done in time.
All right.
And it's all proprietary system, just like the HVAC stuff, so this company has to do the work.
Yeah, so sole source provider, yeah.
Very good. Any further questions or discussion?
I move that we move the Long Courts Building
Support.
Camera Upgrade forward.
All right, we have motion support. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? The ayes have it, the motion's been approved. Number 4, opioid settlement funding application.
Yeah, so I don't know if you want to say anything at all, Judge Wheeler?
I just want to say it's exciting. We have our first application, so Matt can tell you or I can tell you, but it's the sheriff. Surprise. And no, but this is really great because I just think the county should be really proud because after I did a training last week, I was getting calls from a lot of different counties, and our county is so much further along in making some plans to spend this money. But we are certainly not doing it willy-nilly. We've done a lot of planning, and we're going to keep refining as we go along. But I think we should be proud because there's a need in the jail to pay for some additional medications, because the sheriff started medication-assisted treatment in the jail, and we're already using free samples, and this would just allow him to have extra medication, which is exactly what the opioid settlement fund money is for. So I just think you all should be really proud that this is moving forward, and that we've got a lot of great people involved, Dr. Weirman, the sheriff, Commissioner Marquetti, everyone. I'm not gonna name them all because we don't need to waste time, but it's just really nice that we're all working together to accomplish these things, because I think this is gonna accomplish a lot, and it's gonna continue to grow and get better. So we just hope this can move on. Matt,
Absolutely, yep.
anything else you would
And
say?
yeah, this actually provides for some medication supplies for Vivitrol, which is used for substance use disorders. It's prohibitively prohibitively in terms of cost, difficult to obtain, but this would enable them to do that. I think it's 10 doses. I think it's in partnership with Woodlands, part of their medication-assisted treatment program. And then actually the last thing I'll touch on is, as part of the opioid settlement committee plan that was approved, we had a scoring system. We kind of got together for the first time to figure out how that all works. We put together a composite score there at the end so you guys could see, and all of us were in agreement this is a good project.
Mr. Chairperson, I would like to comment on monthly, we have an opioid advisory webinar that comes from the Michigan Association of Counties and the State Advisory Committee. And last month, Cass County presented, and our flyer was highlighted, and the people where there was about 30-some people that viewed the webinar, Cass County was far and above. I'm prejudiced, of course. Everything else, we are, and Carol is right, we are ahead. And people wanted copies of the flyer, and they were amazed, and they were amazed at the website that has been created between Carol and Ambrosia. No one else has that. No one else had the flyer, and no one else had the website. It's through the entire state. So we have every reason to be proud of the advisory committee and the work they've done. It's been marvelous.
Yeah, we've talked about it several times at the SWIMBA meetings, and we are leaps and bounds. I've totally thrown the judge under the bus. I'm like, if you want help, call her. So we are doing really good as far as being in this area, and quite frankly, this is right up what that money is for. So.
Fantastic. Yeah, it's good to hear that money's being used for good purposes. The only thing that stood out when I was reading through it was the sustainability of it. So once we cover the funding for this, going forward, what are some of the viable solutions? And I looked through the application. I understand that there's currently no viable solutions at this moment, but potentially there might be some funding from the state of Michigan in the future.
Well, there is the viability of the free doses, and we'll
Yeah.
keep taking advantage of that every
Yeah.
year.
Okay.
It's just that if our needs continue to grow, our hope is that eventually DOC and other entities, are gonna free up money to pay for this, because if you get people well, when it's a health issue, then they don't have to be locked up for as long, so. But I don't know if the sheriff has any other information on that.
It's good stuff.
And I think in terms of the funding sources for the county too, I mean, there's a healthy fund balance there now for projects that are meaningful and can have a positive impact in the community. And we just actually heard from the settlement attorneys that I think there's actually 2 other groups that are gonna do that kind of accelerated settlement option. So we're gonna see another large influx of settlement dollars coming in. So I think we'll have a good, healthy fund balance to fund meaningful projects over the next couple of years.
One of
Anyone
the
else have any
stipulations for
questions?
the money is that you can't use it for an ongoing thing, right? It has to be for just a temporary, that was one of the stipulations for the use of the money, correct?
Right, but the jail could apply again if there
You're
was
right,
a need.
until the
Yeah.
money is gone.
Until it's.
But then there's basically, you can't just say we're gonna indefinitely have this program.
Okay, very good.
I'll make the motion to push it forward.
I'll second.
All right, so we have a motion and support. Any other discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? The ayes have it, the motion has been approved. Number 5, we have policy updates and revisions, and a few different ones that we're going to be talking about. The elected official, chief deputy salary policy, the commissioner millage, policy and the board C commissioners per diem seat mileage policy. Who would like to speak to that?
I can go ahead. So with the policy for salaries for elected officials and chief deputies, basically, there's state law that already requires how that works. So essentially, the annual salary of each salaried county officer, which is by law fixed by the County Board of Commissioners, shall be fixed during, basically prior to the term, and it can be increased during the term, but you can't reduce a salary for an elected official during that same period. MAC had actually highlighted this back in December of last year, that it actually applied to chief deputies of elected officials as well, and the county had not had any sort of a policy or anything like that kind of driving that. So they had recommended that counties adopt kind of a formal policy to make sure we've encapsulated that principle into a policy somewhere. So that's essentially what this does, is just state that in terms of salaries, particularly for chief deputies, those salaries cannot be diminished during a term of office that's coterminous with an elected official. And that would imply equally to even if you fill that position with somebody new. So let's say somebody accepted another job or something, or resigned or something along those lines. Whoever would step into that role would actually be paid at the same level of what the person was that vacated the position. So this just essentially codifies that into county policy to make sure that we are doing that going forward.
It is state law.
Yeah.
It is state law already, but this way we can point to our own internal
Yeah.
policy to say this is what has to be done.
Very good. Does anyone have any questions?
And I could touch on the other ones right now too, real
Yes.
quick if you want. So commissioner mileage, we had actually had this years ago as commissioner per diem in mileage. And I think there was a couple sections that we were gonna look at, maybe making a couple quick revisions to. Let me see if I wrote those down. Roseanne, do you recall what those
Yes.
were?
The first one was number 5. It says per diem and mileage application, and we should just remove per diem from there, and it's just mileage application.
And I think the other ones were.
And the other one was 6.
Yep.
And it says the per diem and mileage work group, and then there was one more, on the last page, 8, this per diem and mileage, so we want to get rid of per diem and it would be just this mileage policy shall be effective.
Yep.
And then 4, There's
4,
per
4, 4.
diem. by the per diem and mileage work group.
Yes, yeah, 6,
I
yeah,
know.
section 6, number 4, yep.
Yeah.
And I think there's in section 1, 2 there, yeah. So kind of the reason, a couple little minor changes there is that prior to this, there was a per diem paid to commissioners for attending, various meetings from the county. Resolution 18822 adjusted that base salary, and part of that was the elimination of per diems. Part of the reason why the policy hadn't been updated, though, is that for boards and commissions, which we'll talk about in a second, that boards and commissions policy actually reflected back to the commissioner policy in terms of what those were set at.
Yeah.
So it was hard to rescind that and not address that, and it just kind of took a while for us to get there, but this captures the current landscape as it is now and make sure that, the policy isn't referencing items that are outdated or not something that we're doing. And then the boards and commissions per diem and mileage policy, that was updated. Essentially, the main point was item C under section 1 is the per diem shall be equivalent to the currently approved rate adopted annually at the Board of Commissioners organizational meeting. And then finally, there's a resolution that's in there, a draft resolution, that sets the per diem rate. Part of it is obviously we're past the organizational meeting and we need to establish what is the per diem for boards and commissions right now. 34 has been what it's been for quite some time. So the idea is that the resolution would establish that right now. And then that would be adopted again each organizational meeting each year. Now, of course, if anybody wants to have a discussion about whether that 34 should stay or change, that could happen. But for this purpose, for just the draft version, we left it at the straight 34 that it's been.
All right.
I know a lot of content in a short time. Happy to answer questions if there are any.
Great work for the policy committee, staying up to date on this stuff. Very good work.
I'd like to make a motion that this policy updates and revisions be moved to the regular meeting.
Second.
So just to clarify, are we going to move all 3 items and then when we go to the regular business meeting, those are gonna get voted on separately, or how does this work?
We would probably list them individually on the consent agenda as
Okay.
separate items,
So
separate
for right now, we're
motions.
just gonna look to move
Yeah,
on.
and we would look to have that resolution
And-
also included as well.
And
Yep.
then we'll have the resolution.
So we have a motion and support. Does anyone have any other questions or discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? The ayes have it, the motion's been approved. Thank you. Okay, I think we're on number 6, MSU extension amendment to the MOA.
Yeah, so we have a memorandum of agreement that we enter each year with MSU Extension for the services that they provide for 4-H, and then their other educational programs. Obviously, they have an office in the county building here. As part of that agreement, the county had provided actually the staffing for clerical support. Recently, the employee that fulfills that responsibility announced that she was retiring. We were looking at kind of what options there were and how we might approach that. Part of the challenge is that person was split between MSU part-time and then Parks part-time. So, we started to try to figure out what might work best, and having two different, bosses essentially is not always the most efficient. So we talked with Julie from MSU Extension, and what they proposed essentially was that they look at hiring a person through MSU directly, and then actually MSU would provide for the other half-time of that person. So it would actually be a full-time position with MSU picking up half of that cost. In terms of benefits, things like that, it was actually lower cost to have MSU take on that responsibility than the county continue in the way that it has. We will have a part-time parks person to help out with, the planning and newsletters, things like that. But this would actually move all of MSU's operations under their direct control, and remove kind of the county element of that as well. With the fact that the 4-H position had been vacant for a while this year, we had to enter the MOU to outline how the cost will be broken up, but in terms of the actual cost to the county, we won't really see any increase from this because of the savings in not paying for that, the billing for 4-H while that was vacant.
Very good.
I'd like to move that we move this to the regular meeting.
All right, so we have a motion and support. Is there any further questions or discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? The ayes have it, the motion's been approved. Number 7, the animal control fencing. Sheriff Banky?
More importantly, animal control coordinator Ron Butts. So we kind of previewed this for you a little bit last month of this idea for the fencing project for animal control. So they have an area, 2 pen areas where dogs get exercise in the facility, and Ron covered the reasoning why we need this. And we've secured estimates. When this first went out, we only had 1 estimate, and this week we've got 2 more estimates, and it's our recommendation that we have Patriot Fencing do the work for around $13,000, and the other 2 bids were higher than that. And we realize it really doesn't have to come to you, but we want to be transparent and make sure it's all out there, because it is a change of a facility. So if there's any questions, Ron can answer them because I can't.
I think he went into great detail last meeting, so we got it.
Yeah.
Yep, and just to clarify, you said 13.5, but they are given a discount as well? based on the paper?
It lowers the cost down to
Yeah, yeah.
10,125.
I'm sorry. See, he knows more than I do.
Yep, and we do have 2 other bids. We didn't have those in time for this, but there are 2 other bids. Those 2 other bids were higher than this.
Yeah, I just had a fence put up on my property. This is
Yeah.
just a
good
couple
price.
$1,000s more, and it's like 5 times as much fencing, so.
2 other bids came in. The one was almost $13,000, and then the third quote that we received was a little over $17,000. All 3 companies are Cass County businesses, so tried to stay local with that.
Very good.
There is one item he's yet to get for this project, and that's the pea gravel to go between the fences. But he's working on hopefully getting a donation for that, so.
Good. Good
Does
idea.
anyone have any questions?
Good idea.
I'll make the motion to push it forward.
Second. Alright. So we have motion support. Any further discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? The ayes have it, the motion's been approved. Okay, number 8, fiscal year 24 budget amendments.
Yeah, so, we have those, in the packet there for you. Just, I guess, a quick summary, a lot of what we see with the budget amendments is essentially kind of catching up with motions and resolutions that may have been passed. An action gets taken, and then we're on the back end kind of adjusting the budget based on what had happened. So you can see there, with the budget amendments that were there, it's actually capturing from motion 2124 for the master plan, a bit of a fund balance allocation to account for that change. The deficit elimination plan that we approved, I believe it was the last meeting. The fencing for animal control we were just talking about a moment ago. Budget adjustments for the disaster relief efforts that were approved at the emergency meeting. And then the final item, and we added this as a revised version, is we had a fund balance allocation for family juvenile court legal services. This increased expenditure was primarily due to more complex cases, more appeals, and increases in reimbursement rates. But it's a necessary thing to make sure we have the legal services that we can provide.
Very good, thank you. Does anyone have any questions? Hearing none, I entertain a motion.
I'll make the motion.
I'll second.
All right, motion has been made, support. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? The ayes have it, the motion's been approved. Number 10, the law enforcement agreement. Kagan Band of Potawatomi, Cass County Sheriff.
He's coming.
I could talk for a second, but Sheriff would probably have another. Do you want to
You're
talk
up,
about
Sheriff.
the
Don't
law
sit down.
enforcement agreement at all?
So we have an agreement between the Pokemon Tribal Police and the Sheriff's Office to allow working together for police services. It was last signed in 2014, so it was time to update it. So we, Matt, sent it to Carl for a review, 10 years, some different things change, some other concerns. So Carl also, we had advised we have to have a resolution for the county to approve this contract and, or agreement, I should say, not a contract. And we'll move forward with it. I have not sent it to the tribe at this point, just to see if they have any questions or concerns, because we just got it on Monday.
Yes, it is.
So it's something that we've been working on for the last 2 months.
And so essentially, I don't have it in here now, but what we would do for the regular meeting is have a resolution that would essentially authorize the chair of the board and the sheriff to sign the agreement. And then that eventually will get filed with the clerk registrar's office here, and then also with the state of Michigan as well.
Is there any history with this, Sheriff? Like,
It's been, so it started in 2004, was the first agreement, and then it was a 10-year agreement. I had a concern about a 10-year agreement, whether it should be shortened down to more of a term of a sheriff or something of that nature, and that's what this would provide. And, but it's just an agreement, so tribal police, at the time it was started in, they actually started in 2001, but this agreement started in 2004, and they don't get police services, they're not able to enforce state law on non-tribal land without the sheriff's agreement, and this is what this agreement allows them to do, so they help us out, and by the same token, they certify our officers to enforce on tribal land under federal law, so it's called co-deputization, and we, Van Buren and Berrien counties and St. Joe County, Indiana, all do that with the Pokagon Band Tribal Police. And this is just the agreement that we operate under, so. But now, fast forward, the tribal police are their own entity with MCOL certifications. Before they had, when this first started, they had to get their certifications through sheriffs. And being that they were based in Cass County, the Cass County Sheriff had to do that paperwork to do the MCOL certification, but they now do that on their own. So that's one of the changes that's taken place over the years.
So do we have a realistic timeline on when we might see this back with their liking of it?
Yeah, I talked with the tribal chief this morning, and we're planning on getting that to them by the first of the week.
I'll make the motion, push it on.
Second. All right, we've got a motion and support. Is there any further questions or discussion?
Yes, I have a question, Chair. If, so if a member of the tribe is arrested, say by one of our officers, would they be housed in our jail, or even if they were arrested by a tribal, would they then be housed in our jail?
So we have an agreement with the tribe that to house their inmates, whether it happens in Cass County or on other tribal lands throughout the area. And we have an agreement of a price to charge them for that. And on occasion, we do have a tribal case involving a tribal member in our jail. They tend to resolve these things differently, but on occasion, we do have to take one into custody. So if we're enforcing on tribal land, that would be the same thing, but if it's a tribal member on state land, then there's a crossover. Judge Beeler could probably handle this a lot better than I could, but if it's on, usually if it's on state, or if it's on state land, it falls under state law, so.
Thank you.
There are some exceptions.
Thank you.
Okay?
Thanks.
Anyone else? All right, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? The ayes have it, motion's been approved. I believe that was the last new item. So we're gonna go back to public comment. This time the public comment's opened up. It's not regarding agenda items, so if anyone wishes to speak, please do so now.
Now, I know there's a little flurry at the beginning of the meeting, so I'm not sure if this was taken off the agenda, but we have the number 9, my item for consideration. Was that tabled, or was that just missed?
I would say that, well, I'll go ahead and answer your question and say that during the additions and deletions to the agenda, commissioners do have the ability to add or remove items from the agenda without board approval. But for the most part, you know, maybe I'm not out of line here, but I think we're just gonna stick to the normal procedure of not having a lot of back and forth discussion between public and the board. But if anyone else.
What I was referring to, Commissioner Barrera, is on your current agenda, there's a slot of, number 9 on the agenda was prosecutor's office wage scale request. Not sure if that was just missed or if somehow that was taken off of the agenda.
Oh, sorry. So yes, during the additions and deletions of the agenda, it was removed from the agenda.
I would just say that I think that was an ill-advised move. This is something that has been a problem for over 2 years since the last class comp study. The new class comp study is going to go at least a year or two before we have any resolution. I have an immediate crisis in my office. Public safety is the #1 concern of the community, of your constituents. And by doing this, you're kicking down the road of a life and death matter for the public safety. And I'll say I'm shocked that this was taken off, because I have been patient for the last 2 years asking that this be addressed. The first thing in January of 2023, I came and I brought this. I was given short shrift, 3 minutes to talk about it. And then it was adjourned and nothing happened to it. Then I went after that, I went to the administrator. I was put off. I made a request in July to the administrator on this. I didn't get a response until November. I lost more assistant prosecutors. I then came to you and said, this is a crisis. There's no dispute that this is a crisis. And I was told, I said, why don't we look at a law enforcement millage? And there was overwhelming support from you. Let's look at that. Turned out that wasn't the way that we wanted to go. Now, again, that was withdrawn, so forth, and I think wisely so. But then I went and I met again with the administrator's office, and I said, we need to talk about this. We've spent many, many hours in my office trying to bring this forward and providing you with information for this. And again, this has been a tremendous distraction from our need to protect the public. And now I find out that it's taken off the agenda again. There needs to be an answer to the public as to why the prosecutor's office is being ignored and why the prosecutor's office budget, again, you let the public know whether or not you want public safety to be a priority in this county or not. By tabling this, you're telling the public that public safety, the chief law enforcement officer's request, is being ignored and being shoved down, being delayed another 2 years. I'm not going to stand for it.
All right, public comment still open. Anyone else?
Shelley Woodbury, Cass County. Okay, a few of you know me. I'm the one of a few that's helping out the shelter. And it's good to finally see that the fencing's, in progress. You mentioned that you need pea stone. Well, I have a trucking company, so we can provide.
You're speaking of.
Oh, I'm sorry.
not
Okay,
the
we have a trucking company. So I'll provide the pea stone if that's what's needed. The fencing, I've heard some quotes, is that to install and buy the fence, or is that just the fence?
It's finished product.
Finish, okay. I know you're getting quotes. I don't know if you're open for another quote. We have friends that have a fencing company too. I don't know if you're open to hear that. But, so yes, so I'm happy that finally something is going on and I will help to continue. But as in the material, I will provide that. So that's not a problem. So just need to know, how much and dimensions and all that. So yes, I will do what I can to help out.
All right.
Okay.
Thank you so much.
Appreciate it.
Anyone else?
Mark Howie, Jefferson Township. About a month or two ago, I mentioned about the Mark Van Buren and what we spend to them every month. It's been about $19,000 since I talked last that we spent there, and that funding might be used better in other areas of the county. I would still like to see some records of what we are benefiting from that organization, because I don't know what we're spending $118,000 per year on this group and what their return has been on that investment. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
That was February 1st when you got up and spoke. February 1st.
I don't know if this went out to the 120 North Broadway yet or not, but we're celebrating Reunification Day on Friday, June 14th from 4 to 6. I think it did. But I just really hope you'll come out at Dodd Park. It's a really fun event, and we'll have speakers who have reunified with their families and recovered, so that's always a nice event. And we'll offer pictures for families there. And then I just wanted to report that we've had a lot of positive feedback from the Community Connections event that we did by collaborating with the Michigan Supreme Court and the Pokagon Band. It was really well received, and so many of the justices just said how beautiful Cass County was, and just, what a great experience it was to come down here. So I just wanted to report that back to you, because I know all of you think Cass County is beautiful too, but it's always nice to hear they were really impressed with the tribal court, and they were impressed with the things they saw at SMC, and just really the beauty of Cass County. Many people commented on that, so I just wanted to share that with you. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you so much.
My name is Kim Savage, and I'm from Savage Bean right downtown in Cass. And from my understanding, for a while now, we haven't had a contracted ambulance service. Today, we had an emergency right inside the coffee shop, and it took approximately 20 minutes from the time that I called. I want to give a shout out to Jeremy Carlisle and his partner Tim today. They walked in as the incident was happening, and they stayed with us the whole time. I was just wondering if there is a possible contract, or if there's still talks about having a contract for Cass. Because the response time, as everyone knows here, is life or death. Thank you.
All right. Anyone else? That's going to conclude public comments. We do not have closed session scheduled for today, and we'll go around and do board member comments or announcements. Does anyone have anything they would like to speak on, please?
Just for a public update, it hasn't been spoken since we were given word by the administrator regarding Cass County public transportation. Per state law, the board is not allowed to loan out any funds to transportation, so that's why they're not getting any funds from this board. So I just wanted to make that note. If you could highlight it in the minutes, I would appreciate it. That way, when the haters begin to talk, they know exactly why there's no money coming from us.
County attorney
Yeah.
had informed us of that.
Yeah, I'm saying we got word from you,
Yeah.
but from the county attorney.
Yep. Please.
Yes, I have a question about the comp study. Could we get an update on that so that we know, and can you assure us that it isn't going to take 2 years?
I hope not.
That's not the plan. And do you want me to talk now?
Sure.
The plan right now is that the RFP is already out. We plan for proposals to be reviewed by the committee and then a recommendation brought to the June committee of the whole meeting with the idea that the Board of Commissioners would be approving a possible path forward at the July regular meeting. Part of our plan is to really try to be nimble with this. We're not including some things like job description changes, things like that. You know, there is some responsibility the county's taking to try to help accelerate it. I mean, it's possible it could be a 6-month to 10-month process, but we'll know a little more as we get proposals back as to the timing. But I would not anticipate a 2-year turnaround, no.
So, on the RFP, so what is the deadline for people to return that request?
It is, I don't have that off the top of my head, but
June 7th.
June 7th.
June 7th? Okay.
Yep.
All right. And we'll get updates?
Hmm?
Okay.
Roseanne, I have some information that I can give to you afterwards that spells it all
Okay,
out.
Yeah, we've actually had responses from, I think, probably 3 to 4 different firms have reached out, asked for some clarifications, and so I think, we sent it out to, I think, about 10. We have a little tracking sheet that we've been using to kind of update how that's gone, so it seems like response so far has been good. I
to
can't
know.
guarantee how many proposals we'll get back,
Yeah,
but,
good to know.
hopefully a good response.
Thank you.
So, would I be wrong to say, Jim, that the ambulance issue for the county is still out of our hands as
Yes,
county
it's-
commissioners in
It's
this?
still out of our hands, it's still with the townships, and there's a lot of stuff going on there right now. I can't really comment on it because they didn't have the meeting the last time. So they'll have a meeting June.
Sometime in
24th?
June, I think sometime in June,
At the Wayne Township,
Yeah.
Wayne Township Hall
yeah.
at 5 o'clock. So anyone out there that wants to come to that meeting, you're welcome to do so. And it's called the Ambulance Authority Meeting with the townships.
State law also holds ambulatory services under local control too, so we definitely don't want to overstep.
I'll take this opportunity real quick to address the Market Van Buren. I do sit on the Economic Development Committee, which has been tasked with coming up with the report that we want to put together so that we can kind of get like a progress on Market Van Buren and what they're doing. That committee does meet every other month, so at our last meeting, we approved the format of the report. It's very similar to what Van Buren is using. At this meeting this month, we will have our first copy of that report that I will then bring back to our business meeting. So I understand it's slow moving, but when the committee only meets every other month,
Yeah.
we're doing what we can to get that moving forward.
So we'll have their report next month.
Yes.
Yeah, Commissioner Burrow, I mean, if you'd like, when that's done, I'm happy to include that in the packet if that would be helpful.
Yeah, I think that's a great idea. Absolutely. Okay.
Yeah, my concerns was a little bit about that too.
Anyone else?
Yes. I gave you 2 handouts. The first one is the Helping Hands Food Program. Some information about their Feeding America program. Also, the historic Newton House on Marcellus Highway is having a garden brick fundraiser. So for $50, if you pay, they've got a pallet full of red bricks. And if you purchase a brick for $50, they'll have your name engraved on it.
Nice.
And put in their sidewalk.
Nice.
So,
I feel like with my last name, I have to.
Yes.
By 10 of them.
I have to, yes, that's right.
Thank you, Mary, for that information.
Any other board member comments or announcements?
I move we adjourn.
Support.
Support. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed?